In this video, my guest is Bernhard Rauscher, who builds successful brands, and he's teaching people 7 steps to brand building. He says these 7 steps work in any kind of niche, any kind of business. It worked 20 years ago, it works now, it will work 10 years later. So listen carefully to what he says. And don't forget to subscribe below to the YouTube channel of Orange Click, because here we talk about Amazon. We talk to Amazon experts around the world. We talk to software creators which are creating solutions for Amazon sellers. And we sometimes talk to Amazon event organizers. Hello, Bernhard. So could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do and how you help Amazon sellers?
Yes. Hi, Augustus. Thanks for inviting me in your video show. I'm Bernhard and I'm a seller on Amazon. Actually, that's all about it. And what I did 17 years, I ran an agency for brand building and marketing. So that's where I got my knowledge from, how to build brands. And I tried it out with my own brands, and I'm running 4 different brands on Amazon right now. And then I started about, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, talking on conferences. And that's why I got in the network and in touch with a lot of people. So that's my passion, helping others and talking about brand building. And because brand building is like my passion, and it's the real stuff, what I think that's working in the future. But it's not my business. It's not, I'm not brand building business guy. It's just I'm talking and networking about it, and because I like it. But mostly I'm selling my own stuff on Amazon. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So in other words, you're passionate about what you do, which is very important.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I'm passionate, but I'm passionate about talking about brand building, but building my brands. That's really what I'm really passionate about.
And today we will cover the 7 steps in brand building. I think can these steps be applied only to Amazon sellers, or it is more broad?
Yes, it's a broad approach actually, because that's what I did like for 17 years in the agency, and I did with my own brands on Amazon right now. And those are the same steps, the same big steps I did with a lot of big companies like BMW and Vodafone and Deutsche Bank and stuff like that. So, and they will work in 10 years. They worked 20 years ago. They will work in 10 or 20 years from now on as well, because those are so mandatory and so basic, those steps, that anybody could apply it. But what was really interesting about the Amazon sellers, the private label sellers, they skip a lot of those steps when they start building brands. So that's why I came up with this in a lot of conferences, and people really, they were excited about it, because they said, wow, that's something like you're going pretty deep into some steps I never heard about, and I skipped those steps, and now I know what I'm missing in my business. So this is really interesting, and I recommend really like taking a sort of a stop and going deep into those brand building steps to really build your brand from scratch and from the basis. And building it up, that it will be stable in the future. Because when you like think about every email you're writing out there, every ad, and testing A/B and stuff like that, and you don't really know what's working, what's not, and you don't have a brand behind it, it's going to be very, very hard in the future, because others are doing those steps, building their brands. And if you don't do, you will get lost in the future, maybe.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's cover all these steps. So is there any introduction, or we just start with the first step?
I guess we just jump right into it, because that's what people want to know. How do I start? How do I start right now? And what do I have to do? So the first basic step, and it's what most people skip, but it's very, very important. It's positioning. Positioning is your first step, what you have to do. But there's a lot of micro steps in positioning, because you have to find your position in the market. And positioning means that you got to know who else is out there. If you don't know who is out there, you cannot position yourself, because a lot of people are talking about USPs, unique selling propositions, stuff like that. That's right, of course. If you have one, great. But if you don't have one, you still have to position your brand. If you just do what anybody else does on Amazon, it's not going to work for long, because you got to then do some hacks and stuff like that. So that's not a good basis. But if you have a good position in the market and you know what's left and right in front of you, that's like the first basic step. And of course, I can dig deep into those micro steps, but I guess it's better to give an overview of the 7 steps now. But positioning is like the first basic step. You know where you have to be, and you know where you're unique, where your brand is unique. That's basically it.
Is it about defining target audience as well, or it's in the next step?
Yes, definitely. Sorry, I skipped. Of course, I skipped target audience. You're totally right. Thanks for having this ping pong interview. That's good. Of course, if you position, you have to know your competition and you have to know your audience. So those are basically the main steps. You got to know who you're selling to and why they should buy at your brand, and what your competition is selling and what's your USP and stuff like that. So it's all about positioning. Yes.
All right.
And then the second step is defining, because when you start with positioning, you don't have anything defined. It's defining what your brand is, and especially what your vision is, your mission, your values, stuff like that. I mean, everybody has heard of those words, but nobody really defines that. I know a lot of private labelers, you ask them about their vision or mission or values or whatever, or brand values, and they don't know it because they never thought about it. But it's important, and it's not important in the beginning just to know it and write it down and put it in a drawer. It's important for example, when you build Amazon listings at the end, enhanced brand content, for example, and you have a good basis, you defined where you want to go, you defined what your mission is and how you're going to help people solving their problems or whatever, then you can write perfect listings. You can write converting listings. You can write the copy text that really converts, because you know where you want to go. You know who you're going to help and how you're going to help them. Your mission is clear, and that's what people can read between the lines. You cannot fake this. You cannot just put it to some copywriter and say, write a good copy text. If you don't have your basis, if you don't have your mission where you want to go and your vision of where you want to be in the future, there's no value between the lines. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, yeah, if you know where you want to go, that's good for your brand. So that's the second step, defining your brand. Really write it down. I have a brand model, a brand model, what you can download for free, of course, on the website, and that those are laid out what's like in your nucleus, in your brand nucleus, and what you should define. But that's basically it. It's mission, vision, values, stuff like that.
Is it the download file? Is it in German or in English?
It's in German. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I should maybe. Yeah, I didn't do it in English yet. I have some English presentations. Maybe I should like link them somewhere. But if people reach out to me, I can send them some stuff in English as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, and then the next step, the third step, is if you position your brand and define where you want to go with your brand, then it's about to like do all the design stuff. The thing is, a lot of people that I know, especially from the private label sector, they just jump right into the third step. They start defining their logo, they start defining their brand name, stuff like that. But it's a lot easier because I know people that just reach out to Fiverr or to 99 Designs or wherever and just say, okay, define something for me. I don't know what I want. but that's very hard for the designers as well, because they don't know what you want, because you don't know what you want. But if you have a clear precision, and if you're really defined where you want to go, your mission, vision, and stuff like that, then it's so much easier to brief a designer, to write a good briefing, and to really come up with good names for your brand, because they're sort of like a logical next step when you're doing all the processing. And that's what I always recommend. When people come up to me, a lot of people come up to me and mail me a logo and say, "What do you think about that logo?" And I say, "Okay, what do you want? What is the brand? Who are you going to help? What's the USP of the brand?" Stuff like that. And they don't know. And they say, "How do you like the logo?" And that's it. It's not about liking. It's about how does this logo match to how your brand is defined. So that's why I always recommend defining your brand. And a lot of us out there, they cannot really, they cannot really say a design is good or bad. They like a design or they don't like it. But if this is the only basis on what you decide, what design you're going to choose, it's pretty weak. But if you define your brand, you can really decide, is this design matching my brand or not? It's more about a decision from a logical point of view, and not only from I like it or I don't like it, because that's too weak. And so the third step is designing, but on the basis you already did in the first two steps. And then the fourth step is building it up, actually. And in the fourth step, it's the first time you're connecting to your audience, because the first three steps you did internally. And that's why a lot of people who listen to me in conferences and who I talk to, they say, "Oh, I don't have time to do all that," because they want to just step into the fourth step. They want to get traction on the road and go ahead. But they feel it slows them down if they do the first three steps. But I think they're very important, because when you do them properly, you can do a fourth step and you can really get traction in the fourth step, building up your brand, going out there, defining your touch points, go to the audience and see how you can get traction. But it's a lot easier when you have a good design, when you have good values, mission, vision, stuff like that. So that's where you can really build your brand on. And that's the fourth step, building your brand, going out there and defining your touch points, doing your list building stuff, building up your audiences and stuff like that. That's where you go out in the fourth step, actually. Okay, so when you start building up your brand, and of course there are steps behind that. It doesn't stop there. That's very important, because after you started building your brand, it's time to manage your brand. Because it's not like building it up and that's it, and you're done. You're never done. It's about managing your brand. So managing is about a lot measuring KPIs and stuff like that. Because brand building, it's not for the sake of itself. It's not that you like build a brand because you like brands like I do. It's about you want to sell stuff, maybe. Hopefully. So it's about measuring KPIs. Does it convert? Do people react on what you're putting out there, content, emails, stuff like that, measuring all your KPIs. I mean, there are a bunch of KPIs you got to design before you start measuring it, of course. It's about brand awareness if you're a big brand. I did some brand awareness stuff in the past as well. But that's only if you are big enough to measure it in the field. But it's all about managing your brand, and it never stops. It's always on. It's an ongoing process, and sometimes you even have to step back in your first two steps or three steps when measuring and say, okay, this doesn't work. This doesn't work how we expected it to work. So it's hard, but it's sometimes necessary to go back and redefine and tweak your brand a little bit. It's whatever, it's visions, missions, stuff like that, or even the design, if it doesn't fit what you're expected to fit. So you have to step back, and it's an ongoing process, and it's getting better and better, your brand, in this step. Yeah.
One question for those who don't know, can you explain what does it mean, KPI? What does it stand for, and what does it mean?
Yes, thanks for this question. It's good. It's the KPI. It's actually a key performance indicator, and so a KPI might be a conversion rate, for example, might be a KPI. So it's a set of KPIs. It's a set of numbers you're measuring, and we can measure a lot in the internet. For example, conversion rates, traffic, some kind of search engine optimization values, and stuff like that. And when you have your set of key performance indicators, KPIs, then you can measure how your brand is doing over the time. So you may start out with lousy KPIs, like your conversion rate is down because nobody knows your brand, nobody clicks your emails, your audience is very small and stuff like that. And then you start building up your brand, and then you can measure that. And it's important to measure from the beginning on, because then you know how you're doing in the future. If you say, okay, I did 7 figures this year, that's great, but I don't know what that means, because I just heard 7 figures is a good thing selling on Amazon, but it's not a key performance indicator. Nobody can tell from a 7-figure business, how is that guy doing? Is he doing good or not? He might even have a loss and doing 7 figures on Amazon. So it's the KPIs behind it. It's the important stuff, and how your margin is, how big your margin is overall, and stuff like that. Okay. And then it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th step. It's like scaling up. So once you have your brand and you manage your brand and stuff like that, then it's about time to scale up. Sometimes one might think scaling up is like from the beginning on, you outsource all that stuff and stuff like that. But I'm a big fan of doing a lot of stuff you own before you scale up. But that's a personal meaning. I mean, I like to try out the stuff myself before I hire somebody to outsource it, because I want to know what the person is doing, and I want to know if he's doing it good or bad. Mm-hmm. So I do it the first step myself, and then I scale up afterwards, and then I outsource or hire people or hire a team or whatever. It depends on how you want to scale up. You can scale up by totally outsourcing and stay by yourself. That's my meaning as well. And because a lot of people out there, they say you have to build a team. Yeah, maybe it's a fast way to scale up, but maybe it's always if you start building systems and entrepreneurial designs, what we call it, how outsourcing works, and like with virtual assistants, and of course FBA itself, it's a big outsourcing thing, because they are doing the logistics for you, Amazon. So that's outsourcing in the first step already. And then you can scale up if you get rid of the daily stuff you're doing. So that's like the 6th step. And the 7th step, it's very interesting, because a lot of people, they try to scale and scale and scale, and they have sort of like a roof on top of it. They cannot go through that, because it's like you're saturated with your audience. Maybe you're scaled up in different countries and stuff like that. But then the 7th step is very important, and that you find horizontal markets where you can expand. So that's like really when you scaled up in your business, and you're really reaching a ceiling, and you hit it, and your products are perfect, stuff like that. Of course, they're never perfect, but when you feel that there is something you can't go through, then it's time to watch the horizontal markets. And that's what I did, for example. I mean, I can give you some examples, so that's not too theoretically. I have a brand that's called Lumen Man. It's a very, very niche, small photography brand about light painting. So long exposure photography and painting with light. So the niche is so small that I hit the ceiling pretty fast, because the German market is not too big, and I ran the first thing I was doing is an online course about it, how to light paint. And I really hit the ceiling pretty fast. So was sort of saturated. Everybody knew me who was interested in that market, and I have the biggest Facebook group in that market in Germany and stuff like that. And then I started thinking about, okay, what can I do in a horizontal approach? Of course, I can go internationally. That's one step. Or I can like do more products in a horizontal approach. So what I'm doing now, I'm selling on Amazon light painting tools, because people, they watch the online course, they start building their tools, they maybe struggle building their tools, they want to have professional tools, and the next logical step is buying the tools from me. So I start selling them tools, and then I start selling them events, and then I start selling them workshops with other people and stuff like that. So I'm really going the horizontal approach, and the next step will be to go to people who are not familiar with light painting yet, and to have like sort of a light painting party approach. So that's really going very, very horizontal, because I hit the ceiling pretty fast in the small niche. So that's like, yeah, expanding horizontally. So that's the 7th step. And there's a bonus step. There's always a bonus, August.
Yeah, of course.
There's a bonus step, and I think you had Timo Bock on your show as well and stuff like that. So there are a lot of people selling Amazon businesses. So this is like sort of the bonus step. I sold some businesses in the past, but not in the Amazon context, in the agency context. And so this is sort of a bonus step. If you want to head for an exit, that's like sort of your 8th step, selling the business properly. But and there's a big thing about selling Amazon businesses. What I think, in the past you could sell a sales history. That's it. Yeah, you sold your sales history. You say, okay, I have like 40 ASINs and they're doing good and stuff like that, and people bought your business, and that's it. But in the future, it's more important to sell like a fantasy, like. If you're not selling your ASINs, if you're selling your business with an email list and an audience and stuff like that, you're selling the fantasy. Okay, the buyer can build from that basis on new products and new business and scale the business up. That's what you're selling. You're not selling your sales history, you're selling the future plans. So that's why it's so important, I think, in the 5th step and 6th step to really measure your KPIs and get it ready. If you want to have an exit in the future, you have to get it ready for the exit. And you're not getting this done when you start thinking about selling your business. You're getting this done when you start building your brand. And then you measure KPIs, you're building your lists and stuff like that, email lists maybe, or messenger bots and stuff like that. And then you're ready to sell your business in the future, but only if you did your homework in the past. Mm-hmm. So now I'm finished. It's 8 steps.
Yeah. I was thinking number 7 will be selling a business, but it's actually a bonus. Interesting. Yeah. And I realized that maybe number 4 and 5, building a brand and manage your brand, it's like all connected. They are going together. It's right. Like.
Yes, you're totally right. I mean, those steps are never totally separated from each other. I mean, they flow into each other. It's a sort of a continuous process. But I know people like steps. They like recipes and they like steps to do. That's why I really I put out those modules into steps so everybody can remember it and doing it easily. But you're perfectly right. I mean, those steps, they're back and forth. They flew into each other, and sometimes it's not only a one way you're going in one direction only, you're going back and forth all the time. And sometimes when you're thinking about your first step, your positioning stuff, maybe there are already ideas in your head about the design, about the name and stuff like that. And it's always a good idea to have a lot of blank sheets of paper and writing it all down and doing the brainstorming stuff. That's how creativity works, because you cannot be isolated in one step only and don't think about anything else. It's always like you're having ideas about everything else. And
another question. So you said a lot of Amazon sellers, they are skipping the first 3 steps or 2 steps, defining and positioning. So can you explain what happens, why this is bad thing to skip those 2? Like, can you explain what's the problem?
Yes, great question. Yes, the thing is, it may have worked in the past. To be honest, you could buy some maybe jumping ropes or whatever fitness stuff in China, and you just put on a random name. You came up with an internet machine finding names, and then you came up with a logo that you bought on Fiverr for $10 or $15, and that's it. You put it on the jumping rope and sold it on Amazon. So you could really skip those first 2 steps. But the thing is, once it comes to competition, and once it comes to why should I consider your brand before I buy another brand, you really have to you have to tell the people why it's worth buying your brand and what's your values and stuff like that. It's stuff you have to communicate to your audience. But if you don't have something to communicate because you just hired a Fiverr guy to put to your logo, you're really having a hard time afterwards doing those steps if you didn't do them in advance. So I talked to a lot of people who skipped those steps and then went back and thinking about, why are we here? What are we selling actually? And what are the next products we should sell and stuff like that. For example, I talked about the fitness niche. It's a good niche always to talk about because it's a high competitive niche. And if you're just doing a jumping rope and put on your logo and nothing else, it may work with some tricks and hacks and stuff on Amazon. But what about your second product, your third, fourth, fifth product and stuff like that? What are you doing? Are you helping people to get fit or become fit? Or do you help people to lose weight, for example? Or do you help people to have the best gear in the world because they're rich? I don't know. So it's so important that you think about your positioning first, and then you can really, for example, if you rather help people to lose weight with your fitness gear than to become fit, it's a totally different approach. Maybe you bundle an ebook or some kind of content on your website and stuff like that, how to lose weight. But that's a totally different approach, a totally different audience than going to the gyms and fitness centers and selling your stuff there, because that's where people try to become fit. So that's a totally different approach. But if you didn't think about where to go, which way, you're really having a hard time in the future because you don't know to who you're selling your stuff to and how to write your Amazon listings and how to scale and stuff like that, because you're feeling like you're doing worse than your competition and you don't know why. But maybe it's because your competition already knows what the target audience is and doing the right external traffic, for example. Because if you know who your target audience is, you can do Facebook ads and Google ads and external traffic and all that stuff. But it's huge what you can do with all that information.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Bernhard. I hope this will be useful. I will also look at your list and think about what I want to do in my branding.
Yeah.
All right. So if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
I mean, I'm active on any social media platforms like Facebook, in Germany, Xing, and LinkedIn, of course. And also with the website, brandonaut.de or .com, whatever. I have my email address there. And so you can reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions out there. But I don't have a real platform or channel. I have a Facebook group. Yeah, that's maybe Brandonaut Facebook group. Yeah, if you want to ask questions there, you can also hit this. So there are many channels out there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot for the sharing, and good luck in your business. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Bernhard and his 7 steps to brand building. Actually, when I was listening to it, I was also thinking about my brands, about my business, and it was giving me some ideas where I'm missing something. So if you like conversations like that, don't forget to subscribe below and click the notification bell as well, because here we talk to different Amazon experts, Amazon software creators, and Amazon event organizers. And well, see you in the next video.